Hi everyone, I am just going to introduce today's lesson. So before we start, I want to review what do we already know. So we have been learning about matter, and we know that matter is anything that has mass and takes up space. And we also have learned that we can make observations of matter using our five senses, and that this can help us learn more about the matter. The second big learning we've had is that there are three states of matter: solids, liquids, and gases. The third learning that we've had is that matter can change state. So, with the example of water, water can change state from a liquid form, like what we have in a glass of water, to a water vapor form, like what we see when we see steam coming out of a train, and also into a frozen form, like when we are skating on a frozen lake. So, what are we learning today, building on all of that knowledge that we already have? Today, our goal is to find out what is the difference between a physical and a chemical change. So, down here on the yellow sticky notes, we have some information about a physical change. A physical change is a change in the size, shape, or state of the matter with no new matter being formed. So, for example, with an ice cream cone, we can see that the ice cream melting is an example of a physical change. It goes from our solid ice cream, and then when the heat affects the solid ice cream, it begins to melt into a liquid form, but it's still ice cream. It's just dripping down the cone now. A physical change is also something that is reversible. So that means that we can change it back to its state that it was in before. So when we take a piece of paper and we make a paper airplane out of it, this is an example of a physical change because we're just changing the shape of the paper, but we can always unfold it and it stays the same paper. Over here on the orange sticky notes, we have some information about a chemical change. So a chemical change is irreversible, which means that we can't change it back. So in the case of fire, once we burn wood and it changes into fire and goes up into the air in the form of a gas, we cannot change the fire back into wood. So that's a good sign of a chemical change. A chemical change occurs also when a new substance is formed. So, for example, when rust is formed on nails. Other signs of a chemical change include a change in color, like when we see a banana turning brown. When there's a change in odor, you might notice when your bananas rot that they smell a little differently. Or when a precipitate is formed, which is a type of solid, we'll talk more about that later, or when a gas is produced, like when wood burns and the fire goes up into the air and seems to disappear, but it's really in a gas state. So our learning goals today: I can identify a physical change through observations, and I can identify a chemical change through observations. So today we're going to be looking at different changes that occur with matter and using our five senses to figure out if it's a physical change or a chemical change.